Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then just welcome, and I truly hope that you will stick around. If you remember, I recently posted on my channel a tutorial of how you can make a cozy raglan sweater, and in today's video I will actually be teaching you how you can add cuffs and hems for this very same sweater. But you can actually use this method for any type of crochet sweater that you have created, so I really hope that this is going to be useful. And as always, I'm trying to be as beginner friendly as possible, so I'm really jumping into as much detail as I can with every single stitch and every single step. But now, without further ado, let's jump into it. So for adding cuffs and hems, I will be using the same materials as throughout this project. So here I have my yarn, which is basically a wool blend, and here I have my crochet hook, which is 5mm hook, and you will also need some scissors. But now let's get started, and first we will be adding cuffs. So here I have my sleeve, and since the last rows were finished in the blue color, I'm just keeping my color change, so I will be adding cuffs by using this white yarn. And basically our first step is to just attach yarn, and I will be doing that here, so basically underneath the armpit that we have here, and I will just attach it here in one of the stitches that we have. So for that we just have to go through, then grab yarn and pull it through, and then we are just making a secure knot just to make sure that this yarn actually stays here like this. And then we can begin, and our first row that we will be doing will basically be single crochets. And to get started we just have to pull up a loop like this and then chain one. And in this case this chain of one is not going to count as a stitch, so just keep that in mind. And then inside the same space we are adding our first stitch, which would be single crochet, and for that you just have to go through this stitch, then grab yarn and pull it up to have two loops on your hook, then yarn over and pull through both like this. So this is one single crochet, and then we just have to repeat the same process also in the following stitches that we have. So let's do another one together. So going through the stitch, then grabbing yarn and pulling up to have two loops, then yarning over and pulling through both like this. And as I'm adding these first stitches, I'm also weaving in this loose end that we just attached, that we basically have from attaching yarn. So you can just do that as well, and then at the end you won't have to weave in any ends as you have added this cuff. But now just proceed further with adding one single crochet inside every single stitch that you have here, all the way around until you reach this point where we started, and that's where I'm going to meet you back again. And now here I have gone all the way around, so now we can just connect this round together, and we are doing that by doing a slip stitch here inside the very first stitch that we have here. So I'm just going through this stitch that we have here like this, then grabbing yarn and pulling it through, and then also pulling it through the loop that we already had like this. So now this round is connected, and we can proceed further with the second round. And the process for the second round will basically be the same as we just did. The only difference will be that we will actually be doing some decreases to kind of like narrow this space and make it a little bit thinner, because at the moment it's quite wide. And again, to get started we just have to chain one, and this chain of one is not going to count as a stitch. And then we can start further with this row, and basically we will be doing two single crochets and then a decrease, two single crochets and a decrease again. So first we are doing two single crochets, so this is one, and then the second one, and then we are doing a decrease, which means that we have to merge two stitches into one. So to do that we basically will just finish or not finish the first single crochet, or kind of like leave it halfway through, and then the same for the second one, and then we will just complete this stitch all together. So we are going inside the space, grabbing yarn and pulling it up like this, and then right away going into the next space and again grabbing yarn and pulling up, and we should have 3 loops on our hook. And now we can merge these two stitches together, and for that you just have to yarn over and then pull the yarn through all 3 loops that you had like this. So this is our first decrease, and then again we are just repeating the process, so doing 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then again merging 2 stitches into one, so like this, and then the second one. So we have 3 loops, then yarning over and pulling through both of them like this. And then we are just repeating this process until we reach the point where we started, and that's again where I'm going to meet you back again. And here I am done with this second round, and as you can see, we have also managed to decrease the width of this sleeve here. And now again we can just connect this round together, and we are doing that here inside the very first stitch that we have. And again I'm just going to do a slip stitch in here like this. And now we can proceed further with doing the third round, and for the third round we will be doing only decreases, meaning that we will always be decreasing all the stitches that we have. And again, to get started, I'm just chaining 1, and then right away we are beginning with decreasing these first 2 that we have. So like this, then going in the second one, 3 loops, yarning over and pulling through both. So right away we have decreased by 1, and then I'm jumping into the next one and again doing a decrease. And this is the whole process that we have. We are just doing decreases all the time by merging 2 stitches into 1. So again, just go all the way around until you reach the point where we started to work on this third round. And here I have finished this third round, and as you can see we have reduced significantly a lot more. And here this hole, this is basically for our arms, and you can also just double check that it actually fits you. And of course if it doesn't, then feel free to do less decreases, especially during this round, or if it's still wide, then you can do another row and do some more. But in my case these 3 rounds will be enough. And again I'm just connecting this round together by doing a slip stitch here like this. So now, since this is done, we can actually proceed further with building our cuff, and we will be working kind of like our way up here and then moving further in rows. And to get started, we will first have to do some chains, and the amount of chains that we will be doing will basically determine the length of this cuff that we will have here. And in my case I will just be doing 8 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 like this. So this will be the width that we will have for this cuff, but again if you want you can do it longer or shorter, it's totally up to you. And now we just have to work our way back, and again we will be doing single crochets. And to get started we first just have to skip this last chain that we did, and then starting from the following one we are doing single crochets inside every single chain that we have. And since we did 8 chains and skip the last one, we basically have to do 7 single crochets in total. So if it helps you, you can just track count by counting along as you are doing these single crochet stitches. And here I have all my 7 single crochets, and now what we want to do is that we just want to attach this part basically to this base. And to do that we are going to do a slip stitch in here, and then we will also have to move further to the next stitch so we can start working on the following row, and for that we will have to do another slip stitch. So to get started I'm just going in here and doing a slip stitch in there like this. And then, as I said, we have to do the same also here in the following stitch. So doing another slip stitch in there like that. And then our next step is that we have to do a row going back here so we can kind of like build the length for this cuff. And for that, I'm just flipping my work like this. And now we will have to do single crochets here in the stitches that we have. And in this case, we will be doing that in the back loops only. So meaning only these loops that we have in the back of our stitches here like this, and in that way we will build kind of like a ribbed effect. So let's get started, and we are just doing single crochets in the back loops that we have here. So go through all single crochets that you have and just make sure that you are doing these stitches inside the back loops, and also make sure to count along that you do the exact number that is needed, because sometimes you can miss or add an extra one. And do that until you reach the very end. So here I am just completing the last single crochet. So here I have done 7 in total, like this. And now we can move further with the next row, and to do that we just have to chain 1, and then we can again flip our work, and now we will be working here inside the stitches on this side. And it might get a little bit messy, especially because the sweater is quite big, so you just have to be careful how you flip it around. But again, the process is the same. We are just adding 1 single crochet inside every single back loop that we have here from the previous row of single crochet stitches. So I'm just doing that, and I will be doing that until I reach this point, or basically our base. So that's again where I'm going to meet you back, so we can attach it and then proceed further with the next row. And so here I have completed this row, so now we can attach it to the base by doing a slip stitch in here like this, and then we just have to move to the next row, so also doing a slip stitch in the following stitch like this. So now it is attached, and then we can again flip our work and start working on the following row and do the same process, just doing single crochets inside the back loops of these stitches that we have here. So just keep on repeating these steps for as long as it's needed to actually go all the way around until the final row that you are placing is here inside this last stitch. So basically when the start and end meets, and that is where I'm going to meet you back again, because we will just have to connect this together. And here I have already done multiple rows, and now as you can see, this ribbed effect is becoming more pronounced, and we also have this stretchy effect. So just keep on going, and as I said, I will meet you back here once we reach the beginning where we started. And now here I have completed all the rows, and as you can see, we have now reached the beginning where we started. So now the last step to complete this cuff would be to actually connect these two parts together, and I will be doing that with slip stitches. And to make sure that this is not visible, we will actually be doing that in the inner part of this cuff. So since it's quite difficult to do it in here because we have very limited space, and we would kind of want to turn it like this, but of course if your cuff allows it, you are more than welcome to do it like that. But in my case, I will just be flipping this sleeve with the other side, like inside out, so just turning it on this side, and then we will just do it from here. So here I'm just pulling it through like this, and then we can proceed further. So to get started, I'm just attaching or adjusting this loop so it fits the hook like this, and we will just connect these two sides together. And to begin, I'm just starting by going through this part in here and going through the top stitch in here, and then I'm just grabbing this loop and pulling it through. So in this case, we have kind of attached it together like that, and then I'm just chaining 1 to make sure that we can properly begin, and then we are just doing slip stitches to connect these parts together. So here I'm just going inside the next stitch that we have, and on the other side also going inside the next stitch, and again I'm just going through the back loop so we can kind of like keep this sequence that we have. And then I'm just doing a slip stitch, and this is the whole process for connecting these parts together, and we just have to keep on going through the following stitches that we have until all of them are connected together. So very easy and very simple. And here I have connected both of these sides together like this. So now we are done, and our last step here is just to fasten off. So for that, I'm just chaining 1, making this loop a little bit longer, and then cutting off yarn, and as it's cut off, we can just tighten this loose end that we have here. So now we have this loose end, and then you just have to weave in this loose end so it's not visible and not hanging. And for that, I normally just use my crochet hook, and I just go through random stitches in the back just to make sure that it's also pretty from the inside. And now this is completed, so we can again turn this sleeve back on the side as we would normally wear this sweater. So I'm just pulling it through like this, and this is how it looks from the right side like that. And then you just have to repeat the same process and also complete the other sleeve or the other cuff, which I have already done, and just make sure that both of them are in the same length. And then after that you can also do the same process or similar process here for the bottom hem. So basically in here it just depends how wide your sweater is, but in my case I would be doing exactly the same thing apart from doing the creases. So I would start by doing just a basic row of single crochets, and then I would proceed further with adding this hem. And here I am done with the bottom hem, and this is how it looks. So I first started with adding just one row of single crochets, and then right away I proceeded further with adding these ribbed rows. And compared to the cuffs, you can see that this bottom hem is a little bit longer. So to make it, I actually did 11 chains, and then I had basically 10 single crochets for each row. And again, I did it only in the back loops to create this ribbed and stretchy effect. So that was basically it from me today. I really hope that you find this video useful, and I hope that this tutorial is going to help you in case you're planning to add cuffs or hems to your future or existing crochet projects. And as I mentioned, this method is very easy to customize. You can easily make your cuffs or hems longer or shorter, wider or more narrow. It's totally up to you. But if you did find this video useful, then please give me a big thumbs up. And if you're new here, then please subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye!